Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. I hope everybody can hear me okay. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter today. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We're here to talk about tracking credit card purchases in Church Windows accounting. Before we get started on our topic, a couple things. The documentation I'm using for the webinar event today can be found on our Church Windows website in the form of a document. So if we go to churchwindows.com, we go to the support center. If I type in, he said typing in, come on, there we go, credit card. I think we've got not only the document out here, but right here, yeah, we've got the viewer print PDF document on accounting, tracking credit card purchases. We also have a previous video recorded from October of 2016. Frankly, folks, the topic hasn't changed that much. We are certainly going to get the fresh recording of this on our new version 20 here today. It's being recorded, and we'll get that updated on our website, but frankly, the process has changed very, very little, if at all. So if you're looking at a review of some kind here before we're able to get the one that we're recording today out there, which should hopefully be out there sometime in the next week or 10 days or so, you've got the one that's already out there. But the document I'm using is, let me introduce my highlighter friend here, is right here, accounting, tracking credit card purchases, click to view print PDF document. Accounting document there. So just an FYI to let you know what I'm using. Of course, folks, the support center is chock full of useful documents and videos out there. We're very pleased with the response and how folks are using that. But generally, if you're having to wait a little longer for a support call to a technician to get back to you on a support call, definitely check out the support center. You might just be able to find your answer there, okay? We're going to work together for about the next 18 minutes or so. I'll wrap things up at 3:20 Eastern Time. If there are questions, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I will try my best to keep an eye on those and get those answered for you, repeat them for folks to understand what we're asking, and then try to get those answered. Please keep the questions on topic here. Credit card purchases. That's what we're here to talk about. I'm not equipped either in necessarily my data or my thought process to kind of shift gears on you. And let's go ahead and get started. So typically, credit card, and this is what the document reveals, is a credit card is treated like any other vendor or payee. So when we go into manage accounts under our chart of accounts, I go up here and I type in Visa. I've got one called Visa Chase Bank. They are listed here down under my accounts payable vendors, just like any other vendor or payee that I pay, right here, okay, under my ledger called accounts payable, okay? So typically just what we do is we just go into enter bills. Let me get rid of my drawing here. So we would go into enter bills, and this would be, once we've either got the statement, lots of folks enter these in different ways, okay? But again, we just normally will, we either wait for the statement and get that, or I've worked with some churches and users that literally will go in and enter the bill for their Visa or for their credit card as soon as somebody comes up and hands them a receipt for something that was purchased on the credit card. It really does allow for a pretty broad level of flexibility for what, how you want to track these. So, even if you do want to record them based on the purchase dates, I could certainly see how that's important. You want a bill to be accurate, to accurately affect your treasurer's report. You probably want to enter the date occurred on your bill for the date that you want it to affect your budget and your treasurer's report for the appropriate month. So certainly I can't come in here and go, oh, okay, I'm entering my May, June bank or credit card statement. I've got a charge showing up there on May 29th. So I'm going to choose my Visa Chase Bank. So here I would then come down and I would then, I would enter comments of some kind. There's generally no invoice number or due date on that. I could enter comments if I wish, but then here, I would type in, office expense, and then I would enter whatever I had purchased, on the credit card for my office expense for that day. So then I would come over here and I would type in printer, paper, and if I really wanted to record it, maybe the payee that I used it at, or the company that I purchased my printer paper from, let's say Office Max, okay? And then I would click Done Add to Batch, or I would click the plus sign, and then maybe unless I had made other purchases on the credit card on May 29th, I could certainly continue to add more expenses. Okay, but in this case, we're going to say, okay, we just made the purchases for the office expense on the 29th of May, click Done Add to Batch, and then I could go back up and go, okay, my next purchase on my credit card was on Saturday, June 2nd. Again, similarly choosing my Visa Chase Bank. Again, similarly going down and choosing my the appropriate expense account, and we're going to say, custodian supplies, $58, and we're going to say cleaning supplies, and I can even again put in, wherever I bought those if I wish, okay, if it's that important to you, okay. Or this is one way, again, entering the separate bills. I then would have 6 or 8 or 10 different bills for Chase Bank Visa when I go to pay bills that I would then, when I click all of those, the collective total of those bills equals the balance that I owe them. There are also a lot of folks who are churches who will simply choose their vendor, and based on the date of their statement, they would go, okay, I'm going to be recording this on my upcoming statement date, which is due, let's say, July 5th. Okay, so then they would choose their vendor, July credit card statement, or June, May, June credit card statement. And then they would simply go down and choose each one of the expense accounts. So I'll choose miscellaneous office expense, $125, new printer, and then just keep hitting the enter key and moving that down. And library expense, we got $250 worth of, new books, something. I'm just putting some stuff down here, folks. And they would just continue to add to the one single bill, worship supplies. We're just going to continue to add on here ad nauseum, okay? And then till the total, and I mean the total right here, I added that a little quickly there, sorry about that. Right here, the total of the amount right here matches the amount of my statement, okay? It really does vary from one church or one user to the next, okay? Oh, we're going to go ahead and say that on our July 5th bill, we received a credit memo back for our purchase the senior citizens made, back in May or in April or what have you, and they returned a piece of merchandise, and we received a credit memo of $65. And so I would put a check mark right here in the box labeled credit memo right there, credit memo. Hopefully everybody can see my yellow dot. But then I would put a check mark in that, and observe here what it does to my total. Here, when I check that, it reduces it, nets out my total to the amount that I have on that July 5th bill. So it takes the $675 total and subtracts the $65 from that. And that works because I haven't received something that I can physically deposit at the bank. I've simply received a credit against my credit card balance based on that credit card having been the original method of purchase. Okay. So again, when I'm done with the respective bill, I simply click Done, Add to Batch, and then I either post or post and pay these bills if I'm ready to post that payment now. For the purposes of our webinar, we're simply going to click on Post, and then it pops up and asks if I want to print. We're going to say no to that. So now then, maybe I'm not ready to pay my credit card bill today. Maybe I'm going to pay that tomorrow or next week. It's really up to you. But then we would go back to Pay Bills, and then we're going to go up here to Quick Pay at the top and View Outstanding Bills. And notice that all of my outstanding bills would be for Chase Bank Visa. Okay, so assuming all of these, the account balance is $700 for all three of these, I would simply check all of the three bills and click Create Payments. And then again, starting with my date occurred on the left-hand side, enter the date of my payment, verifying that my asset account is correct. How am I paying them? How am I paying Chase Bank? I would choose the appropriate payment method either for the default or, for the specific line item. So, if I choose computer check, it'll put a check in the print queue to send to them physically, or, more commonly, we might just go online and transfer a balance from our checking account over to Chase, paying them electronically. That's what we'll choose here. But that's the payment method we're going to choose, okay? If I go, oh, I'm not ready to pay my, $32 or $58 or whatever my totals are, my July 5th, maybe I would just uncheck that one, and now notice that the payment amount to pay changes automatically based on the invoices or the bills that I have selected, okay? But we are going to pay that. And it automatically adjusts that amount to pay, okay? So we're going to choose EFT, and we'll go ahead and post that. Notice Post and Print Checks grays out. So we would post that, and again, it similarly props up and asks us, do we want to print a report of that payment transaction? So we're not going to do that. So the important thing to keep in mind about this, folks, is a lot of times we will get a question from folks saying, well, what if I want to track which vendors I've used my credit card to pay, okay? We want to know where we've used that credit card, okay? So basically, you're talking about entering the bill for the various vendors that you've used it at, okay? That really makes it a really big challenge because, when I'm choosing an asset here, the payment method that I'm choosing is requiring that I choose an asset account from which that payment is being posted. So, when I go, okay, I'm going down to my Sam's Club and I'm using my credit card here and I'm paying using my credit card, okay, and I paid them X number of dollars on my credit card. Let me change that to correctly credit card. I'm not affecting my cash at this point, okay? So I can't use my default payment, my default asset account of my general checking because when, yeah, sure, if I'm using my debit card, cash is being affected immediately. That would be fine. But in the case of my credit card, that is not the case. So we have to get a little more creative in terms of how we set up and use and construct the database in that case, okay? Simply what that means is we have to set up an asset account called Chase Bank Visa. So I would have to go into Manage Accounts, into my chart of accounts, right-click, choose Add New Asset, and I would, add it as, Chase Bank. It's just enough different on it, folks, that will allow me to do that. And then I have to set up a 100 number for it. So then we're going to go 110, 150, okay? And we're going to add it to our total current assets and investment subtotal and click OK. There's my Chase Bank Visa. All right. So now when I go back to Enter Bills and I now want to record my bill for my particular vendor or payee that I'm paying on that particular day, let's see here, what creatively can I find here? Yeah, I'm having the organ repaired or tuned up or what have you, and I'm paying Clark's organ repair on my credit card. So I'm going to choose my building fund expense, and I'm going to say we paid $1,200 for our organ for that organ tune-up on that. So we clicked on Add to Batch, post and pay these bills, no to printing. It now opens up my Clark's organ repair, allows me to choose that. Now under my asset account, I'm going to be choosing my Chase Bank Visa because that's how I paid that particular vendor, okay? And I'm going to choose credit card as my method of payment, okay? So then I could continue to do that throughout the month as that credit card is being applied or used, okay? Just, again, making sure the date for my payment is correct. The asset account is my Chase Bank Visa. My credit card is my payment method, and continue to post. That's all right, folks. Disregard that message. Okay, so then now I want to pay my Chase Bank Visa for those charges that I've made through the month, okay? But what's occurred here is now if I go to my Chase Bank Visa, what occurs is, notice here, I've made payments out of that account for a balance that was at zero or had no balance in it, okay? So what I have to make sure here is that my bank name shows up as my payee for my check, okay? So now then all I have to do is when I go to pay my monthly credit card bill, I would go up here to transactions, transfer, making the date occurred on this. Let's say pay that forward into the month of July. My from account is going to be my Huntington Bank checking. My to account is going to be Chase Bank Visa. The amount is going to be my $1,200 balance in this case. My payment method would be computer check or EFT or however I was actually submitting my payment to Chase Bank Visa. And then, I could put in comments of some kind, monthly credit card bill, done, add to batch. And as we will observe here, when I click the show running balance, my Huntington Bank checking is reduced by $1,200, and my Chase Bank Visa went from a negative $1,200, the balance, to zero, which is exactly what it should do. It's a clearing account. It's it's basically an account we're posting those payments to record our credit card payment transactions. Now I could then, I can safely post this. Did I post it? I'm sorry, folks. I don't know where that went. Did I? Oh, wait. Hang on. Let's post the batch. Oh, it's added. So now it's there. Sorry, I didn't see that. Now when I go to my print checks window, I've got a check waiting to print now to Chase Bank Visa, okay, for the $1,200. So I've now satisfied my need to show a withdrawal from my checking account to pay my credit card balance. I've also cleared out that Chase Bank Visa account balance, and I've also charged the appropriate expenses for my bill and recorded my payments and vendors where I use that credit card bill. The second method there does, require a different level of complexity, but we do have a certain percentage of our churches and users that do want to know where our credit card was used. And so the only way to record those separate payments at our pay bills window to those vendors is to set up that asset account for our credit card company and post that asset transfer to record that payment after all the other bills and payments are entered. Okay? All right, folks, so that's the end of our webinar. Let's see. I don't see any questions coming in. If you do have questions, please type those into the questions portion or pane of the webinar now. I'll see what I can't do to get those answered. Give folks a few seconds to type those in there, or a little more than that. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it. I've been doing this a long time. I like to think I know what I'm talking about a little bit now after all this time. Thank you. You're very welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you, folks. All right. Well, I don't see any questions coming in. Maybe I was just pretty thorough on that, and I answered and kind of anticipated what folks were going to ask on that. If, again, Folks, the webinar out on the, or the video out on the website you want to wait for this one. This one will be back out on our website here on version 20 at some point here in the next week or 10 days. Please check out the current webinar page on our website now for the future list of events. And I'll go ahead and end the webinar for everybody. Thank you all so much for attending. We hope it's been helpful. All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.